How to set boundaries with a narcissist? Follow this way. Today, I want to talk to you about how to effectively set boundaries with narcissists. So let's discuss how to establish boundaries with a narcissist in a way that actually works. First and foremost, we must understand that there are never any black and white choices to be made when discussing narcissists. In reality, destructive narcissism is a spectrum or sliding scale. Therefore, there is a big difference between trying to communicate with or set limits and boundaries with someone who is very high spectrum and scores extremely high on the destructive narcissism scale, and trying to do the same with someone who is not as high spectrum but does have some troublesome, problematic, really irritable, and perhaps even frustrating narcissistic traits and tendencies. The reason I brought this up is that while the boundary setting technique I'm about to share with you is very powerful and effective, I would really like you to use it only when you are speaking with someone with whom you feel safe enough to be a little bit vulnerable. Prior to implementing it with the person who is causing you problems or frustration in your life, you should practice it a little. We are going to start out by using supportive statements, but if you are feeling comfortable enough to express your feelings a little bit, you may find that this will be an absolute game changer for you, okay? So use language that makes it clear how important the relationship is to you. So if we are talking to someone today for the purposes of this conversation, for instance, a supportive statement would sound like this: you are everything to me, and I genuinely care about you. Your comfort and feelings are important to me. You are an important part of my life, and this relationship is very important to me. Therefore, any genuine affirmation, in other words, if you don't truly feel these things, you shouldn't say them. You should therefore speak from a place of authenticity, but making a supportive statement at the beginning of a conversation accomplishes a number of goals. In spite of all outward appearance, if you are dealing with anyone who falls anywhere along the destructive narcissism spectrum, we are dealing with someone who is fundamentally very insecure, very fear-based, extremely self-absorbed, and frequently quite defensive, right? Even when they don't need to be, we therefore disarm them right away by introducing ourselves in this manner of supportive statement. These are people who, no matter how adults they may look emotionally and psychologically, that's fundamentally what we are dealing with, typically have their nose firmly embedded in their navels. So we are setting up the space to feel safe and comfortable for them right away, right? Therefore, if we can establish the tone of the conversation with this kind of encouraging statement, we will disarm them right away. They won't feel attacked, and we are showing them that we genuinely care about them. It establishes the tone that they are important. We are introducing a dynamic and empathetic and loving communication, which is always a good place to start. The win technique will then be used from there. I have had a lot of experience using this method. In my coaching business, I impart it to the clients I work with. It has incredible power. And because the communication is so clear, it has such power. When we are speaking with a particular person who lacks empathy and is wholly self-absorbed, it is essential. Communication must be crystal clear if we are to be effective. So this method of communication is crystal clear. Fundamentally speaking, all we are doing is communicating intelligibly and delivering information. How they decide to receive that information is not our concern. We have no control over how they respond or behave. Since we are establishing the gap and the line, we are accountable for how we communicate the information. The problem with this, however, is that the response and reaction after we have done so will provide us with a wealth of information that will tell you everything you need to know about whether you can actually move things along with this person and whether you have any chance of developing a meaningful connection and effective communication. Therefore, pay close attention to the response. However, let's move on to the win technique. The win technique works in this way. You must act when I feel I need you to. Hey, I really care about you, so here are some examples. I adore you a lot. I value your opinion greatly. I feel incredibly hurt, rejected, and ashamed when you criticize me in front of others. Stop doing that, please. There is silence and perfect communication. Hey, let me give you another illustration of how much I value our relationship. I feel abandoned, hurt, and quite frankly scared when you leave me standing by the side of the road without a car. Please don't do that ever again and keep your silence. Hey, let me give you another example. I value our connection greatly. I truly care about how you feel. I'm deeply hurt and devastated whenever you treat me silently. To understand how you are feeling and where I stand, I need you to communicate with me. Therefore, these are only a few examples that you could use. Fill in the blanks with what applies to you based on your circumstance and always come from a place of sincerity. Try to keep it brief, clearly communicate, take a breath, keep your balance, give the information, and then be silent. Consider the information as it comes in. As you deliver information, be honest with yourself about the reaction or the response. How they react or respond will provide you with a wealth of information. You can then base your decision on that information. It's going to be a little tricky at first and not easy if you have never communicated in this way before. It can be awkward, painful, and uncomfortable. It's kind of like building muscle when you first start going to the gym. Therefore, I strongly advise you to practice using this communication technique to set limits and boundaries with the challenging people in your life in front of a mirror, in your journal, with a friend, or with a safe person. Just make sure to fill in the blanks with the appropriate information for you and your unique circumstance. Most importantly, practice in silence. Clear up any confusion by speaking quickly and concisely, and then learn to accept awkward silence. Make decisions based on the truth you tell yourself about what is happening to you in return. When you communicate in that way and don't give up after a few tries, it might not happen right away if you're dealing with someone who has the capacity to be truly loving and respectful of your needs, preferences, and well-being. It might take a few tries, but when you communicate in that way, you aren't attacking. Instead, you are merely conveying information in a calm, loving manner with empathy and clarity. These are not black and white issues, so let's reiterate that this is a spectrum. You will discover a lot about the people and things you are dealing with by using this boundary setting technique and tool. Again, your responsibility is to be honest with yourself. Friends, I hope that was helpful to you today. Share it with your friends if you think they would find it useful. If you like what you heard by clicking the like, comment, and subscribe below.